All right, so I just mentioned a minute or two ago that these two guys are planning to enter the church. They've discerned that God is calling them to be Catholic and to be here at JP2. So this is Dave and Drew, dad and son, and one, it's very inspiring what you're doing, heartening for all of us. And I don't know if you could just share a little bit of your story. How'd you get to this point?
It starts with you, so yeah, you kick it off.
Actually, I have to go all the way back to my bachelor's degree. I went to Donnelly College, and so my first exposure to the Catholic Church, real exposure, was through Donnelly College, and got my bachelor's there. But at that point, I really had some reluctance to really join the church, although I thought about it very seriously. But if you fast forward quite a bit, my last year and a half or so, I had kind of went through sort of a crisis of church. I have been a licensed pastor with the Evangelical Covenant Church. Went through a period of time where I really began to challenge the Protestant church, in particular the concept of sola scriptura. And so that really led me to more seriously consider the Catholic Church. And Robert Barron was a big influence, watched a lot of videos on him, did some reading, did a lot of prayer, went to Conception Abbey again. I've been there a few times before. But all of that really led to a kind of conversion of heart, and it's hard to fully describe or explain, but in the fall of last year, I went through a process that really felt to me kind of like an awakening, like an epiphany, honestly. I began to really see the church as, the church, and the church of Christ, and what the Lord intended for the church to be. And it was just kind of an epiphany almost. And you read about like Paul, when he had sort of scales fall from his eyes. That's kind of what it felt like. I just felt like these sort of spiritual scales just sort of fell from my eyes. And I probably will have to cut it short right there because I get emotional if I start talking about it too much. But I began to go to Mass regularly, and Father Riley was a real blessing during that intern period. And as a result of some of this, Drew began to look at it a little closer. Your turn.
Yeah. So you first showed me Bishop Barron's videos online, like when I was getting my undergrad at MNU here in Olathe, and I was like really intrigued. I was like, man, he's really fascinating. He's a great speaker, and I really like some of his ideas. But that's all it was for a long time. It was just kind of like intriguing. It was like fascinating. But Bishop Barron, in a lot of his videos, he talks about the three transcendentals, which are goodness, beauty, and truth. And I was like, when you started taking the Catholic Church more seriously towards, I think, the end of last year, I started watching more videos as well, and I found like other Catholic priests and bishops online, and I just became more and more drawn into it. And I was like, what? I don't want to just be this person who just kind of picks and chooses like whatever I want. I was listening to Orthodox priests as well, which I still love the Orthodox Church, but I didn't just want to be able to to kind of treat theology or the church as if it's some sort of like buffet where I can just pick whatever I want, whatever sounds good or tastes good in the moment. I want to be more stable than that because I feel called to ministry, and I want to be a person who is grounded in something. And I saw when I look back in retrospect on not just my formal education, but kind of my history in ministry, it's just kind of like I didn't even realize at the time I was kind of treading water. And I want to be a person who is not only rooted like for myself and my faith and relationship with Christ, but if I'm going to be inviting other people to participate in the kingdom and what God is doing, I want it to be more than just whatever Drew says, like whatever I say goes or something.
Yeah.
I want to offer more to people who are really hurting. And what I found in the Catholic Church, starting I would say with Bishop Barron and all the other things we've learned online with Father Farrar and the homilies that we've heard and Mass that we've been going to, it really just does feel like home. So when you talked about that organization, it's called the Coming Home
Network.
Yeah, network. And some Protestants are kind of like, well, what are you talking about? But if you really just like surrender and you step into that and say, God, what are you going to speak to me? Like, what is the Catholic Church saying? What are the arguments? Not just that it's all arguments, but I really just feel like I found the goodness, beauty, and truth that I've been looking for. So there's so much more we could say
Oh,
about it.
yeah,
Well,
beautiful.
we do have to say one last
Beautiful.
thing. Curtis Ketty is
Yeah.
the man, and we've been going to Resound every week since it started. We've had to miss one or two every now and then, but we've been pretty consistent with that, and that has been tremendously helpful. And I've been amazed at the what I say is, I like to say that the catechism is utterly magnificent in the beauty of its teaching, and I really believe that. But the way that Curtis really dives in deeply. So I'm just going to put a shout out. If you haven't been to Resound, you need to go to Resound. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, very influential for you.
Yeah. After the first Resound one that I went to, because you went a few times and told me I should go, I was like, I'll check it out. And I had never heard, I didn't even know there was a word catechism. Or catechesis, anything like that. But after that night, I went home and bought a digital version online, and I was like, I'll just read the introduction. But an hour went by, I didn't realize, and I was just learning about the Trinity and just the Catholic teachings on theology, where they begin. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm hooked already. Just first time. That's all I needed.
Wow.
So
A movement of grace. Movement of grace, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. Thanks for sharing it with us. Yeah, it's happening at a time when there's life here. Corresponds to the life that's happening around here. There's new life going to be happening in your life as well. And we're glad to be a part of it.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks.